Welcome back, everybody. Of course, you know this is your boy Black Hammer. Thank you for coming back to OG Gamer Syndicate. I decided to do a little something different. I want to give my first impressions of this Battlefield 6. Uh, as you know, we all had our first beta weekend, open beta weekend that we just enjoyed. Looking forward to the second one. I have a lot of different little thoughts about it, being a Call of Duty person, and I'm sure a lot of people have given this a try over the weekend. As a matter of fact, it it did crazy well over the weekend. So here's what my thoughts are, and I'm sure that a lot of people have the same feeling about this game. So without further ado, let's get to it. So it's gonna be a good time, I would say. I was never a Battlefield fan. I'll put that out there first, because a lot of people would think, it's a lot of people who are fans of Battlefield who have, of course, putting their 2 cents, good, bad, or indifferent. But the perspective that I'm coming from is from somebody who's been Call of Duty for ever. I would say I can't even say there's been a time that I've ever liked Battlefield, right? And that's just because I was so used to what Call of Duty had to offer back when they were more grounded and less trying to just like appease everybody, especially people who don't really play the game. But over the years, Call of Duty has become lazy per se. They're jumping on trends and not into innovating like they used to be, because that was the whole thing about Call of Duty. They were all about innovation. They would change the game, and then slowly but surely they started giving into gimmicks, and they started going down a path that that basically made them into the company that they are now, which is basically just trying to do what they think will appeal to the kids who are essentially not the ones who are buying these games, because it's the adults buying these games for these kids. But the people who started this whole thing, they are now grown up and they're now adults, so they're no longer appeasing the people who put them where they're at. They're appeasing the Fortnite generation, by trying to put all these different dances and different stickers and just really like kidding the game out, which kind of made a lot of us feel like they just don't care about their actual core fan base. And that has been evident over the years, right? Giving us the same things. We're basically recycling boards and such. And Battlefield's been around just as long as Call of Duty, I say. But, if you're a COD fan, you're a COD fan. If you're a Battlefield fan, you're a Battlefield fan. But now, like, over the years, the lines have been blurred to a point where you really can't tell the difference much anymore, because there's a lot of trends that Call of Duty stole from Battlefield, and stole from everyone, actually. There's a lot of different trends that they just been on. They just jumped on the bandwagon and stuff, and it got to a point where they got overconfident, right? Because Battlefield stopped for a little bit, and COD basically figured that they won, so they could do whatever the hell they wanted at this point. So they started doing something that nobody really cared for, and just lost touch with their core audience. So now that set the stage for Battlefield to make a comeback. And where we're at now is that everybody wants Battlefield to do well, because what Call of Duty needs is competition. Like, everybody can state that. Everybody knows that Call of Duty definitely needs some fresh competition to get them back into their former glory, right? Because they have fallen off, essentially. And this is what I feel Battlefield has done. Now, I'm not going to say that all of a sudden Battlefield is a better game per se. It's just Battlefield, it feels to me like we have grown into Battlefield, Like, Battlefield was grown man shoes that now, since we have been subjected to all these different things that Call of Duty has done, it kind of blurred the line between Battlefield and Call of Duty. And now it's at a point where Battlefield is actually in a good space, because they're doing all the things that we really want. right? So in terms of this beta, it kind of shows that. It kind of shows that, we have grown as a first-person shooter community, and the things that Battlefield is given, especially with the destruction and all that, with just a team-based play. They got rid of all of these stupid cosmetics that nobody cares about. Like, if you're going to make a military game, make it a military game. Don't put all this other stuff that nobody cares about. I mean, I kind of lost my shit when they started putting like prop hunt and stuff like that. I already knew once they did things like that, it was a slippery slope that only went downhill at that point. And so said, so done. That's what's basically happened. So now here we are. After giving that kind of background behind it. Now we have Battlefield 6, and a lot of the success is based off the fatigue from Call of Duty not caring. So that's first and foremost. That's what's giving it a chance to succeed. The fact that there's a fatigue from Call of Duty not giving a damn about their fan base, and now we're like, all right, we're fed up. We're going to try something different, because options was always the name of the game. If you don't have options, you're going to go to what you know, and if you do have options, you're going to give things a try. Battlefield brought back options, and we're happy to see that happen, because competition makes people get better. And that's essentially what it is. Nobody wants to see COD die. We want to see them get better and go back to what they're used to and not fall for all these trends, because all trends aren't good ones. And that's what I feel that this Battlefield has done for the game, for the industry. Because now we're seeing like destructible environments. We're seeing more team-based type gameplay, even though we'll get back to that with the team-based gameplay, because there is a big issue in Battlefield that I could already see happening, because what has happened in these games now is that nobody likes to play as a team, and that's probably be the hardest thing to overcome in this game, and well, in shooter games in general. Teamwork has been fading, because unless you're playing with some of your buddies, nobody wants to do objectives. Nobody wants to actually like revive people. And I knew that was going to happen ever since everybody started talking about tryhards and all that other stupid shit. Like you want to tease people for actually doing their best and doing good. Now it turns to a bunch of people who like try less, don't do shit. You know what I mean? It's like I don't get that generation where it's like it's a bad thing to do your best, but hey, look, it is what it is. But here's the thing: when you have a team-based game that requires you to help one another, that is a big problem, and I feel like that's going to be the sticking point for this game, which is the team play. Because a lot of it is based off of that, especially when it comes to revives. You'll see in a lot of the different gameplays that you'll see, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, but there's a lot of people that I'll show where people will just step over your body like casually, right? Even though the game is about helping each other, people will casually step over you, and that's going to be a problem. There's certain things that I don't like about this game. One is the respawns. When people spawn behind you, those are problems. But those are problems that Call of Duty has as well. I'm assuming that, because it's a beta, those things happen, because that is normal practice when it comes to these type of games. It happens like that, and that's just because it is the beta, and we hope that those things will change. There's a lot of things that I know that will change over the course of the beta to the actual launch. And that's not one of the things I'm worried about too much. It's more important that people aren't playing the game the way they need to be played. Like, everybody's trying to get kills and stuff like that. And that's what Call of Duty did. It made you really worry about your kill-death ratio more than actually winning the objectives in these type of games. And, that's a problem that I guess will fix itself over time. But, it's definitely a problem that needs to be addressed. Need to be mentioned at least, because not everything is just about how well you do. It's about what the team does. And that's one thing that I enjoy about Battlefield, because just about everything you do helps the team. As long as you're doing something that helps the team. right? And you'll notice that even if you're a sniper and you can't hit nothing, just the fact that you've scoped people out, that helps too. If you ain't making no kills and you support, but at least you're reviving people, that helps people out. That helps the game out. That helps the team. It's so much that goes into this game. You're an engineer. You don't even know where you got shot from, but you're fixing these vehicles and supporting the tanks and such like that. You're helping it out. Those are real beneficial things. Every different class has a purpose, and everything that you do really helps the team, which is also a great thing. I appreciate Battlefield for doing something like that, because that's well needed now. Now I'm sure they've always done this. I can't speak like this is new to Battlefield, but it's definitely new to me, right? Because again, now I'm finally giving Battlefield a chance, and I'm starting to see things in a different light. Because we've come a long way, and when you come to these type of games, it's very easy to get bored if I'm just focusing on what I can do, because one person doesn't win a game, right? And I don't realize, like, people don't really understand that. People would actually try to do their own thing to the detriment of the whole team, and they'll lose a game just to say that they got 50 or 100 kills. And that's something that has happened within the Call of Duty community. It's a lot of people who just don't care, right? And that kind of kills the whole idea of the game. Like, that's a whole nother game that's inside the game. That's that whole different kind of Fortnite-ish type thing, the Battle Royale thing, where it's just one person against the world. And that's cool for that type of thing, but there's game modes for that. But basically for the actual type of team-based games, that it never works. It never works, right? So with that being said, I appreciate the return to form of a first-person shooter of this nature. What I didn't think is that I would enjoy a Battlefield game ever. And I could say one thing. It doesn't feel too different from Call of Duty. As a Call of Duty fan converting, it doesn't feel too different, which is a good thing for a Call of Duty player, but a bad thing for Call of Duty, right? Because if now it doesn't feel too different from the game that I love, why am I sticking with you? Especially if I have an option. And again, there's that term, options. Once you have an option, you gave people a way to steal your fan base at this point in time, and just the fact that everybody else is tired of Call of Duty and the lack of concern. It's like, okay, you don't care, neither do we, right? Which is going to make for a good 2005-2006 game season, because I feel like a lot of people are not going to go to Call of Duty this next one. I mean, of course they're going to be people that go, but I know that if they're doing more of the same, it's going to push a lot of people to Battlefield. So it's gonna bring back quality, right? The competition is going to bring back quality, because when you are so close to losing your fan base, especially like Call of Duty needs this. They need this dose of reality. They need it, right? And all it does is help the game get better. So I figure probably not this Call of Duty that's coming up, but the next one will probably do better. They'll be more focused on what we're really looking for, to grow and innovate and do what they always have done best. Like, because Call of Duty was the leader in innovation, now all of a sudden they just got stagnant. And I understand. Let's not act like us as the customers hasn't created this, because every time, like, there's a lot of games that I feel like, especially with Call of Duty, that has come out damn near perfect, and then people complain about everything, and then they change it trying to appease us and end up messing up the entire thing. Like, we've led them down this path of destruction, let's be clear, right? It's just that once they started going down that path, there was nothing that we could do to stop it, because they thought that they were pleasing us, and they thought that that cookie cutter shit was what we wanted, And that's because for a brief moment, that's what we did. You know what I mean? Things in popularity come in short bursts. So they took that and ran with that and basically said, this is what we gonna do. Is you sure this is what you want? We gonna give it to you. And now we got something that we all hate, right? So I'm not gonna take our factor out of this. It's just a shame that that's what it turned into. And now we have what we have now, which is, Call of Duty fatigue and an opening for Battlefield. So, from here on out, I'm kind of interested. I want to see what happens from this. I want to see how this turns out. Because this is definitely going to be one for the ages. This is definitely going to be a fight. And there's nothing bad that could come from this. The competition is on, and I appreciate it. So, let's get back to how I feel about Battlefield. It's good. It's good. If you couldn't tell by what I've been saying, it's good. It feels like a great option, right? It kind of makes me feel like I play like I should play the other Battlefields just to see if this always been like this. Because now I'm starting to feel like it's probably not the game, it's the player. Where I was at a certain point when I started playing these games is not where I'm at now, right? Because when we all started playing this Call of Duty stuff, we were in a different place. We were a different type of player. Like, I remember not really making a lot of kills to get kill streaks and stuff. And then as I got better, these things started happening more, frequently. And now it was like, all right, let me go back to the older Call of Duties and see if I'm any better now. You know what I mean? Which I am. So it could just be time that changed. And, the game has always been the game. But, now I'm a different player, so now I could appreciate it. So it kind of made me feel like maybe I should play other Battlefields and see if that's what it is. Because this one has done something to me as a player. Like, I'm surprised. I never thought that I would end up liking a Battlefield. Never in my wildest dreams. There's not one that I say that I've liked. Not one. Like, every time. Like, my biggest issue with Battlefield is that you would get shot and never know where you got shot from. Like, there's so much room and you never know where you got shot from. It's just some sniper laying in the cut and you getting cut apart every time you spawn. Now, mind you, that is a thing in this Battlefield. I'm sure that was a thing in every Battlefield. But it doesn't feel as bad anymore. It's like a small thing that I could deal with, right? Because it's like in Call of Duty, it'll be like campers. And when you camp, I never got upset with campers. I just found a way to beat a camper. And I mean, because there's always a way around, right? So you just come up with something different. The amount of people that you see camping in this game is crazy. Like, there are memes about all of the sniper glints that you see. There's a sniper everywhere, right? There's people in corners everywhere, but the map is so big that it doesn't really mean much in the term of things to do, because you do have to do the objective. If you don't do the objective, you lose the game, plain and simple, right? You must do the objective, and that turns it into a different type of monster where it really doesn't matter how good you are. As long as you're doing something, you guys could win the game, right? Which is awesome, right? Awesome, right? That's if you don't worry about your KDRs and all. And trust me, it all comes with time. The more that you play, the better you'll get. That's just the nature of it. That is the basis behind this whole get good thing. I don't know why people are so against that whole get good talk, because you buy a game to play it. You don't buy a game to instantly be good at it. If you were instantly good at every game you played, it probably would be boring, right? I would say, at least to me, it would be boring. If I was good at every game I played, I probably would stop playing games, right? Because the challenge is what keeps you going. And this game is a challenge, especially if you're coming from Call of Duty, because if you've been, Call of Duty basically raised a bunch of lone wolves, running gunners, duck and divers, dip dodge, you basically all over the place. It's a different type of gaming, right? And again, I'm not gonna go and say like if I want Call of Duty to disappear. No, that's not the case. I think we all just want them to return to grace, right? To get better. Because what they've been doing is not making a challenge for people who grown up playing this game. Everything became so like basic after a while. And then you're focusing on things that don't really matter to us. Like, why are you focusing so much on skins, right? And let's talk about these skins that you're putting in, right? Since this conversation, I want this conversation to be beneficial to whoever's watching this, right? If you're gonna put skins in the game, why not make them military skins? What's the point of putting Nicki Minaj in a Call of Duty game? 21 Savage, freaking, you know, Kevin Garnett, you know, putting all this other stuff that's not related to Call of Duty. Ninja Turtles, Beavis and Butthead, freaking Jay and Silent Bob. Like you're putting on stuff that has nothing to do with Call of Duty. Like, and I'm gonna say it again: if you're gonna do any kind of skins for a Call of Duty, why not make it military related? Why not make it? Why nobody had the idea to put G.I. Joe? You know what I mean? Just to say, you know, Cobra versus G.I. Joe. You know, have some Deathstrokes, have some Cobra Commanders out there. You know, the droids. You know, they never thought Lady J, Duke, none of those things. And that was never an option. They just was like, all right, let's go with things that are non-military related in the military game. I mean, it's silly, right? And then you're focusing on dances and all kinds of stupid stuff that don't really matter, and you just lost touch. You just lost touch with everything, and I think that's what really is upsetting the community. You lost touch with who you are. You lost your identity, right? And I think that's what people are sick of. We want you to come back, Call of Duty, right? But in the meantime, while you're deciding who you are, we're gonna play this Battlefield, right? Because Battlefield is doing it. Battlefield is basically giving us everything we want. Let's start with destructive environments, right? Destructive environments is fucking awesome. There is nothing like being in a building, somebody blows it up, and you have to hurry before the whole building just falls apart on you. You know what I mean? You're sitting on a roof, and all of a sudden the building crumbles from under you, right? That is awesome. Like those are things that just make it intense. You know, there's no such thing as guaranteed cover because they all bust apart in a most glorious manner, right? Those are things that we're looking for, right? And Call of Duty has started going that way, but you know, Battlefield has always done it. You know, and again, it just makes me feel maybe I just grew as a player. Because, again, Battlefield has always been doing it. So, and I can't say that Battlefield has changed. To me, I don't feel like Battlefield has changed. It's not Battlefield that's changed. It's us as players that's changed. Do I think Battlefield 6 is doing anything spectacular? No. Not at all. Right? And that's not clowning or shitting on Battlefield. I think now, because Call of Duty has closed those lines and made us play these different things that got us used to these things, and then now the time to kill is getting smaller, is creating a area where these games are now feasible. Because in all case and purposes, I'm a hardcore player in Call of Duty. I can't stand core. I feel like the time to kill it takes so long, like you're emptying full clips. And as we went further along, Call of Duty, the time to kill has been changing. So hardcore players and core players are coming closer together because the time to kill is becoming something balanced that everybody could agree on. And with that being said, now where they have Battlefield, which is basically just core, they never added hardcore, which is the reason why I didn't play Battlefield in the first place. Now that the time to kill is getting so close to what hardcore would be, it's now becoming a feasible option. You know, it's now becoming a feasible option for people who played Call of Duty just because it had hardcore. Now what are you going to do when the time to kill is pretty much the same? Now you're going to open up and say, "Oh, I could do this." I mean, just what, 2 games ago we had ground war. I mean, we have ground war. Once Call of Duty started going ground war, Battlefield is basically ground war, or ground war is basically Battlefield, roughly, right? So now that you're open to this stuff, now it's like, all right, well, is there a real dislike for the game? No, not really. And especially when they put in this whole drag to revive thing. Yo, this drag to revive is awesome. I feel like it's such a great thing. You know what I mean? You could just drag them out of the way and revive them and get them back in the game. Even though a lot of people don't revive. I revive. There's others that revive. But a lot of people don't do it. Once people start doing those things, this game is going to be super intense. Like, people are really going to enjoy their time in this game. You know, once people start playing it right, it's going to be awesome, right? It has a lot of potential, and I think that's what people are looking at with Battlefield, because nobody expected it to be good. I don't think anybody expected it to be good. Not even Battlefield fans expected this Battlefield to be good, because they've been complaining about Battlefield for a little bit too. Like, the Battlefield community has been complaining about Battlefield before Call of Duty community started complaining about Call of Duty.
I guess like the best way to
like
put
when
it is
Battlefield had their complaints,
like
Call of Duty community didn't care. We was enjoying Call of Duty, but it's only when we started seeing these things happen where they lost their identity, which is the same thing that essentially happened to Battlefield, because Battlefield started trying to keep up with Call of Duty and essentially lost their identity, and that's what what the Battlefield community was upset with. Now we understand, because Call of Duty essentially did the same thing. They lost track of who they were, and since they did that, it just basically killed the game. So they had to take time off, and now they came back, and they're getting back to their roots and back to things, and they see what works and see what doesn't work, and I applaud them. This is a great step forward, right? And I'm just wishing that Call of Duty could do a little bit of the same and get back to grace, right? Stop giving in to all of these trends, right? And get back to what you do best. Because I would love for the quality of Call of Duty to get back to what it's supposed to be, right? And that that's why I'm such in support of Battlefield basically stomping the hell out of Call of Duty, because Call of Duty needs it. Call of Duty definitely needs a reality check. By all means, I don't want them to go out of business, but they need this reality check. They need to get ground stomped for real. And it looked like it's happening. I feel like the community is speaking. I don't feel like anybody who's a Call of Duty fan went to Battlefield because they like Battlefield better. They went to Battlefield because Call of Duty needed to understand that you are playing with our emotions here, right? For lack of a better term, you're playing with our emotions here. So, this is the result of it. Now let's give credit where credit is due, right? Because I don't want to make it seem like the only reason Battlefield is doing good is because people want it to do good against Call of Duty. Battlefield does some things that are really great here, right? And I touched on it a little bit with the destruction. I also like the fact that you could pick people up. I also like the size of the maps, right? I feel like every map makes you use a different class. I like the fact that they're really encouraging you to use different classes, right? It doesn't make sense to get stuck at any one class, because not any one class fits all situations. They're encouraging you to use all the different classes, which is great. That is something that lets you just get a feel of everything. Everybody has a purpose, right? And that is very refreshing, because especially in Call of Duty, everybody have their one class or two classes that they use. Me personally, I only have one class that I use pretty much for the entirety of the game. Once I build my class, that's pretty much it, right? So I like the fact that they're giving you an opportunity to use every single class, see what it's about, and really kind of like fit a need, in almost the way that other games do it, like Marvel Rivals or Overwatch. They get you to really try different classes to fit the need, and that's kind of like what Battlefield has done here, and they really emphasize that whole thing about trying different classes. You're not stuck as just anyone. You're not stuck as Assault. You're not stuck as Recon. You're not stuck as Engineer. All of these, they fit in where they fit in. They fit in when they fit in. That's why all the boards are kind of different, and they are just made for different classes, made for different types. Like, I've tried to be the Recon class on the different boards, and I realized that certain boards, it just doesn't fit me as much as it does like the bigger boards. Just like this board in particular, the mountainous boards, it really fits me better to be a sniper and this type of board, as opposed to like the other board that they just showed, like the smaller boards where there's more building intensive, where you might want to be a support player or or something like that. I mean, it lets you really kind of feel out where you want to be and what works for you, right? At first, I know I was like the worst Recon player. Like, I avoided Recon. I was more support than anything, because in all these other games, you really realize that people don't do support for whatever reason. Like, people don't like to revive. People don't like to help people. And I understand why, because a lot of times you die trying to help somebody else, and make it even worse, they wouldn't do it for you. So I understand why there's such hesitation, but it needs to be done. Somebody needs to do it, so those are the like I said, those would probably be the problems in this game, because everybody has a job and somebody needs to do it. And if nobody does it, then you're at a disadvantage. And there's that. So once people start playing the game properly, it turns out like when all cylinders are firing, it feels really good. Everybody has their place. Everybody has their purpose. So those are the type of things that this game does well. When all cylinders are firing, everything just clicks. When you got a team who's talking, communication is big in this type of game. When everybody is communicating, everybody is doing the same thing. The teams are so massive, so you got to stick with your crew basically, and pick what you're gonna do. It's all about squad. It's squad based gaming. So the more that you stick with your squad, I realize like you can't go into this game playing it like you're playing Call of Duty at all. You must stick with your squad. You must help towards an objective. And when you communicate, everything just goes well. Like, you could tell there was a lot of thought put behind this, right? And again, I can't speak for how the other Battlefields went, but that's just something that I noticed in this one, right? And it makes me feel like I want to go back and play these other games just to see how it is. Like, I'm definitely going to try to, like, over this course of this week, I think I'm going to play other Battlefields just to kind of like see if that's what it's always been. Because if it has been, I've been missing out. And I ain't afraid to say that. If that's how it's always been, I've been missing out, right? And I'm okay with trying to give it a shot now, right? Because I enjoyed the hell out of this beta. Like, I enjoyed it. Like, as you see, like the gameplay that's going on, I've really dove into this. I gave it a chance, and I chose to give it a chance because I didn't want to just say I didn't like it just because my bad experiences with past ones. And here I am now, new as a new, like, I can't say a new player, but as an evolved player in this type of genre, and it's only right to kind of give it a shot, because maybe I wasn't mature enough to really care about that stuff. Maybe I was thinking about all the wrong things at first, and now that I'm able to see it from a different perspective, now I'm able to give it a second shot, and from doing that, I'm pleasantly surprised. I'm pleasantly surprised that I was able to give it a shot and enjoyed it as much as I did. So much so that I'm actually looking forward to the second beta weekend, just to play a little bit more, and then I'm sure everybody gonna miss it again until the game comes out. Am I gonna purchase it? I don't know. I mean, I think so. I think if I had the choice of this or the new Call of Duty, I think this would definitely be it.
Right over that shoulder.
But let's be clear. There is a first-person shooter fatigue to some level, where you've been playing shooters so long that now it's like it's like not a fear, but like you're just tired, right? You're tired of giving all these people chances, and it's just not working out to a point that you don't want to give it a chance again. But if you do, you might be pleasantly surprised. Maybe it's just the fact that we've been doing the same thing so long that you're just like, nah, nothing is going to change, and you're kind of pessimistic about the future of these type of games. But there's always an opportunity. And there's always something that comes along that will make you change your mind. And this kind of did it for me. Just when I thought that I was done with first-person shooters in general, here comes taking a chance with Battlefield, and I'm enjoying it, especially with friends. Especially with friends. And I know that's crazy to say, because everything with friends is a good look, right? Everything with friends is more fun. But especially with friends, this is a good time, right? I could say that. It's definitely a good time. With all its frustrations, let's be clear. As you can see from this gameplay, I'm not the best on this shit. As a matter of fact, I'm not even good. But what I could say is that I sure had a good time. I sure enjoyed myself. I enjoyed playing with friends. I even enjoyed playing with randoms to a certain extent, right? Because that's the issue. That's with most of these games, playing with randoms is the killer, right? But this was a good time. Like I found some good teammates, people who actually want to play the game, play the objective, people who were trying their hardest to do the thing. And even when you lost, it still felt good, right? A win's a win, a loss is a loss. But as long as we having fun, that's the most important thing. And I can say that. Were we having fun? Yes, and that's the most important part. Were we really good at this shit? No, not really. I mean, we were doing the best we could, but every time we try to play it like Call of Duty, we got punished for it every single time. Every time we try to play it like Call of Duty, we got punished. It's only when we started playing as a team and like really covering each other's backs, that's when it started getting really exciting and really turning around. And that was the fun part about it. Playing as a team, playing as one cohesive unit and making things happen. That was the fun part. Where getting revived, where you don't really get revived by people. See, those are the things that will change the game. All these little additional caveats that really change up how the game turns out. Can you have a miserable time? Yes, but you can have a good time too, right? You can have just as good of a time as you'd have a bad time. It just depends on how you play the game. And if you don't take it too serious, there's a lot of fun to be had. There's a lot of fun to be had. So I'm gonna give it my seal of approval because I am definitely digging it. And would I recommend it to others? Yeah, I definitely would recommend it to others, right? And not to say that I'm like all Battlefield, like now I'm a big Battlefield fan. No, that's not it. But if you do a good game, you do a good game. If it's enjoyable, you can't deny that. You can't put hate on it just because of past experiences. You got to base it off of how it is now and if you enjoyed yourself. And I feel like if more people did that, they would find that there's fun to be had here, right? And that's just being fair, right? And in the course of being fair, yeah, if you haven't played it yet, I would suggest that you make sure to make it on your to-do list for the next beta, which is next weekend, which we're all looking forward to, and just give it a shot. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? You're playing it for free, you're enjoying it, or you're not enjoying it. But I think that if you're a person who enjoys Call of Duty, you'll enjoy this Battlefield, right? If you're a person who enjoys Battlefield, of course you'll enjoy this one. Unless there's something that I don't know that you guys complain about, especially in the Battlefield community. I'm not there. But if there's anything that you have issues with especially being a Battlefield person, let me know, because again, I can only speak as a Call of Duty person coming to Battlefield and not as a Battlefield person playing this new Battlefield, because I know that you guys have your gripes as well. But the best I could do is just come from my point of view, and hopefully that'll be enough to get to where it needs to get to, and hopefully I've helped out enough people who's been on the fence about this. So yeah, that's it. That's all I'm gonna say about this one. I hope you guys enjoyed my review on this. I know everybody has their own point of views and their own first impressions of this, but this is mine, right? No bias, just straight gameplay. And I just know that the one thing that really pisses me off that they gotta fix, as you just seen, is the way that they spawn people behind you. Once they get rid of that, I think that we'll have a really good experience here, because the worst thing in this game is spawning and then someone spawning behind you and getting that kill because they spawn behind you, holding down an area, and all of a sudden they spawn behind you. You know what I mean? Those are the things that really bother me. But again, we're gonna chop it up to just being a beta, and hopefully all those things get fixed. I hope that Battlefield got exactly what they needed out of us for this beta, so that they make these fixes. Hopefully they're actually seeing these videos that people are putting out with their impressions and actually learning something from it. And by the time that it comes out, I hope you all have a great experience, because at the end of the day, we need a change from what we're used to. And without this kind of competition, nothing changes. So, with that being said, I hope everybody enjoyed this, and I look forward to the next one. Hopefully I could be helpful in other type of videos like this. If you guys like this, let me know. Let me know if you feel like I should do more about these, and I will. You know, this is my first attempt at it, and I think that I am very interested in giving my opinion on these games if you're willing to hear it. So, with that being said, I'm going to let you guys rock out with the end of this video. See, you know, the rest of this gameplay, and hopefully you guys enjoy what you see, and hopefully you'll give it a chance. With that being said, until next time, everybody, later gamers, take it easy.
2 at A, 2 at A, 3 at A, 3 at A, 4 at A. Golly, they here.
Hostiles now hold objective Alpha.
On that B. We're going for C. I'm heading for C. Golly. 2, 3. They spawning over there now. So I guess we got A cleared, because they spawning over there now. Turn around to A. Golly.
Friendly lead confirmed.
It's tied up. We need B back. Shit.
Let's
95 to
move.
197. Woo! What a fucking game, bro.